The Flying Lion says,
boys, hell is real.
2023 Supporter Shield champs.
So glad that I can be back with people who know that it's a Flying Lion.
It shows how much we all love this club.
Yeah, just a fan of the sport, you know.
It's definitely tougher to be an academy player than it is a pro.
In this club, you don't play just for the club, you play for the fans.
Jersey swap, car of the week, trivia question of the week. Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of the Flying Lion podcast, coming to you tonight, recording Monday night here after unfortunate hell is real result for FC Cincinnati. Sam, it's kind of wild to think, like, after this result, man, what are the positives that come out of this? We're going to give you our takeaways from this match. The first part of the episode, we'll maybe touch on kind of the aftermath and what this looks like moving forward. And really what the second half of the season could look like as well, because we're still in second, actually, you know, within the East, and third in Supporter Shield. So kind of wild to think about. But Sam, how are we doing tonight?
Yeah, doing good. Like you said, got bad taste in our mouths right now. Not really feeling the best, but like you said, still second in the East, trying to look at the positives at everything coming up. We got a new player coming in the squad here next week that, you know, we'll touch on a little bit. So that's, you know, exciting, but will we see some more, Ryan? I don't know. We'll break that down here soon, but I will say, coming into this match, I was stoked. I was excited, and honestly, like, pregame and everything held up real well.
Yeah, I would say the buildup was definitely there, and the hype. I mean, even with the delay, you know, I'll get to it in a bit, but the rain delay kind of built, honestly, into the vibes of things. But the orange out was really cool. You know, I have to say, what have we been calling for all season long on this podcast?
Give us the themes back.
Themed nights, and the orange out was just brilliantly done.
Yeah,
the
great.
Rally towels, you know, a great touch. It just added to the atmosphere. It really felt like it was a European derby, and for all means, like, the first 10 minutes felt like that as well. And then the wheels came off. But yeah, besides that, you know, we'll comment on that as we go along, but the TIFO was top tier.
Oh my gosh, this was nice, Ryan. So obviously, for those who saw, your fate is inevitable across the bottom there, and then you got Gary holding up playing cards, one being death for the crew cat. He was kind of like just a skull of himself. And the other card saying the tower, and then the third card saying the fool, showing the Cleveland Browns mascot. So Ryan, obviously, just beautiful artwork overall. Very well done by the Bailey.
Yeah, the Forge. Shout out to the Forge, you know, for putting this together. For all those who, you know, spent the time and effort. Gary was pretty sick looking. Like, I mean, it was pretty impressive. It would have been, you know, even that much more next level if it weren't for the weather. They weren't able to use the rigging system, you know, because of this. They didn't get really the smoke effect as much as, you know, we wanted to as well. So it could have even been that much better, but it took up almost the entire Bailey as it's laid out across. So it was pretty impressive.
That's what I wanted to pose the question to you, though. Like, do we like the TIFOs that go over the Bailey, or the ones that use the rigging system? Because in your eyes, or in our eyes, the best one that we saw was last season. You know, hell is real, and the entire Bailey had, you know, artwork, right? They had like a, you know,
the blue and
black.
The
color, like the blue and black, right? And it covered the whole. Like, what are your thoughts?
Combination. You know, if you had this displayed upright and then all of the stuff behind it, you know, the color coordination, the all orange was already there. It was built in with the theme night.
Yeah.
So if you had it kind of displayed upright, for me, I like that look better. We have that rigging system for, you know, that purpose. Unfortunately, didn't get to display it in this one, but yeah, shout out to the Forge for everyone who participated. Unbelievable. And it only built to the fact that, like, the team was gearing and ready to go. You know, we'll talk about, you know, here the first parts of the game, but Sam, looking at, you know, hell is real, the lineup comes out. Is this exactly what you expected?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is definitely what we were expecting. You get Miles back from U.S. men's national team duty, so good to see him back in the squad. Once again, Kamara stays up top. You know, don't see, you know, Dotto come in usually, you know, every week or every 2 weeks, right? You see kind of the change up there, but Kamara stays up top. I think we continue to like that look, especially in the first half, being able to play the ball more forward and over the top. So Yeah, Ryan, I mean, we're missing a couple key pieces depth-wise on the bench, though.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you look at the midfield, it's like, well, who do we have past, the guys that are actually on the pitch? So, without Kubo and without Santos there, your options get a little bit more slim, especially in a match where you need every player for, 90 minutes plus. And clearly that showed. But yeah, it's one of the lineups where you look at and you go, you know what, that's about right for what we had in the moment. No real surprises there. I think Engel had kind of earned his opportunity at that left center back spot. But yeah, to have the guys rearing and ready to go. I mean, I think at least this is what I'm going to say about the first minute goal. It was unbelievable. I mean, we had talked about best Hell is Real moments in our 10-part, series for the Orange and Blue. Go check that out on Goals TV. But talk about moments, and you had Edgar Castillo score within, 26 seconds. And we had recently just talked about this. And then you get Pavel Buka that goes and puts it in right away. I mean, for me, Engel just rearing down the left side, it set the tone. It was like, all right, we're going to win every battle here. He takes it all the way down the end line, cuts it back, Buka plays it in, and the place is going crazy. It was really cool because of the weather delay. Everyone was already in the stadium. Everyone was in their seat. If it weren't for that, there was a chance that not everyone catches that moment.
Yeah. People miss it. That's true. So, I think that's a good point there. Everybody was in the stadium rather than the Castillo goal. People were just finding their seats, just trying to figure out what was going on. And yeah, what a strike by Buka, being able to, take that first time and, put it where Schulte is. It was just out of his reach to the right. And my goodness, Ryan, like you said, the second fastest Hell is Real goal behind Castillo's 26 seconds in 2021. I mean, like you said, this set the tone for, what was supposed to be, the rest of the match. But I mean, right then and there, 4 minutes later, though, we're back up in Shalalalin.
Yeah, can I just hold on to those first 5 minutes and forget about everything else?
Yeah, just play the 5 minutes on repeat.
For sure. Had to be the best vibes I've ever had in the stadium. And there's been a lot of good vibes. And you get the goal immediately after that one, and you're in your derby at home. Everyone's rocking. The Bailey's going crazy. And Evander just hits this beautiful volley into the corner. I mean, Miles goes in and tries this shot that gets blocked. Evander, first time on the volley into the corner. Up for goal of the week, by the way, so go vote for that. But just unbelievable play by Evander. Again, another one outside of the box for him. I think more goals than not have been outside of the box than inside for him, which is just insane. But you get one celebration down in one corner, Evander's down in the other corner, so everyone's happy. You're up 2-0. And then we don't have to talk about the rest. You guys know what happens after that one. Yeah, but for real, we had chances. I mean, that's the thing that is really tough for me to swallow is 30th minute, Kamara is going down the right side, and he almost gets this one in. There's another chance that I don't even know what minute it was, Sam, but he gets pulled down in the box, and it should have been a PK. By all means, Kamara's holding it up. He gets his shirt tugged. There's not even a look that I know of. I'm in the stadium. I don't know if they formally reviewed it or not, but imagine if it's 3-0 and it's not 2-0. Does that change things?
Yeah,
clearly the crew came back from 2-0, but 3-0 changes it, in my opinion. And the ref was questionable in this one, especially in the first half, with not giving the crew a single yellow card. They gave us yellow cards. They had, honestly, a few opportunities where I felt like there was one shot that I think that we had as well that might have hit one of their arms. So again, these are things that you look back on now, especially in this situation and how the result went, but it could have been different. You still have to play. That is the biggest thing that obviously, we're all thinking is you still have, if it's not bouncing your way, clearly you're up 2-0, it was bouncing your way, but when the calls aren't going the right way, or when the ref feels like he's against you, in Evander's case, especially in the first half, this ref and him had words at every single minute because he was the most fouled player on the field by a long shot, and he was frustrated, and they clearly targeted him and tried to upset him, and the ref was not really about it, for a good 70 minutes of the match. So frustrating, but it's not like we didn't have chances. And in the first half, you're up 2-0. You feel really good about it. Close out the half, Sam. There's got to be a better message when you start to see the possession swing. We had a really solid 30 minutes. We held the ball. We did everything right. And then the Crew just kind of wore us down with their possession. And we knew that was going to happen. That's the thing for me. I've been listening to a lot of, talk about the U.S. men's national team playing Mexico in the Gold Cup final, Sam. And the same thing is true. Mexico is going to come back. U.S. goes up early in the final. Mexico is going to come back and they're going to be ball dominant. They're going to come down your throat. So what's the adjustment? And Pat just didn't have an answer.
Yeah, it's something we've been looking for all season. I know you and I were texting back and forth about it, and it's not anything new, right? This isn't like a surprise to us. That's the funny thing of, going up 2-0. Obviously, that's the scariest scoreline in soccer. But I mean, this is nothing new. This is something that we've seen all season.
The thing is, their players just are so composed, even though they're away from home, 2 down. And the message comes clear as day to them that trust your game plan. And then for us is what is the game plan? You're up 2-0. You've been in this position before. Like you said, we should know better on how to kind of handle these moments. A key tactical switch that I saw in this one, and a lot of people have pointed this out as well, is our press, Sam. In this game, when Schulte had the ball in the back at his feet, it was basically every player for FC Cincinnati was marking a man. And it created a situation where they had to almost waste time and really try to kind of force the issue. Now, what ended up happening that led to this first goal by them in the 42nd minute is, off of this kind of break, it was almost like a fast break because they added another midfielder and they created decoys, for Rossi. And they prevented early on in the game from them from getting the ball. They created decoys this time, and it freed up the midfield. Buka and Anunga got held up way too far, and Nagby just runs straight down the center. And it just completely broke, our press. And from there on, I think we were nervous to play. It's just disappointing that what's going to happen. You have a good game plan for 25 minutes. But, Sam, I'm going to pose the question here right now. Have we had one game this season where we've played a complete game 90 minutes where we can say and hang our hats on that was the best 90 minutes we've had all season? I don't think I can remember one.
No. I mean, if there was, it was probably Montreal, right? Where we win 3-1, but it could have been 3-0.
That's not a complete game.
I'm saying as close to one as you can get, right? Is one of those. And once again, at the end of the game, you just let up a goal because we have no gas and we don't want to,
Sam, do you think this is conditioning then?
I mean, I don't know what, it's one of those things where is it conditioning? Is it, because I know a lot of people have talked about all the injuries, right? That we've had with the new strength and conditioning coach that we've gotten. Is that in there, right?
You got to be able at this level to come out and play all 90 minutes. And if you're
absolutely.
not, that's why you have subs. And if you're not going to use your subs in the right way, then what's the point of having them? So yeah, I don't know. I just posed the question. I'm just curious. I know I had seen a lot out there about that. Are we not able to play at that level for that long? Is that why it's the end of the game that we just kind of let off the gas and let teams back into it per se? But I don't know. It's interesting. So, they get a second before half and it's 2-2. And I think for me, that's the turning point. It has to be, the goal that they score is demoralizing. I mean, it's a deflection. And before you know it, it's tied and you were up 2-0 at home. But the message at half has to be, you're still at home. You still have to be on the front foot. I get you lost the lead. I know it happened again. But go take it. Go grab it. You're still in this one. But it almost feels like you're going in with, being behind at that moment. And that's where I really think you got to rely on your captains. You got to rely on the guys that have been in this moment before in these big time matches. And I just don't think we've had enough of that with this newer group where we've really been tested in that way. We've seen it in teams in the past, and there's still enough of those pieces, but Obi wasn't in there to kind of tell them, hey, we can still write this. But Miazga's there. Robinson's kind of been in that moment, maybe not last season as much. Roman maybe, or whoever it is. Is there too many of those new pieces that haven't been in like the playoff type atmosphere games to kind of say, hey, like, keep your head, let's go, let's pick it up and go from there? But the second half, there wasn't a change. There was no answer. There was no response. There was no energy. I think that's for me the concerning thing that I texted you was when you go down now, even on an own goal, like again, another situation where it's like, dude, how do you recover from that? But where's the fight? You're at home, you're playing your rival, you have to take it to them. And there just was no fight. I think that for me is what's concerning.
Yeah. And you talk about the leadership that we do have, and rightfully so. These guys have earned captaincies. They've been in big games all around the world, most of them, and in the MLS. And for FC Cincinnati, are they stepping up, right? Like,
yeah,
obviously our savior the past couple of years in Lucho was he wasn't vocal, but he was doing it through his play, right?
Sure.
And he would always show that fight, regardless if it was through his actions or the emotions that he left on the field. We saw it. We saw he cared enough to give all of his energy, right? Did it come in bursts? Yes, but once again, you're trying to find that person in this group to go, okay, like, I know the legs are not there. I know it's a really hot day. Like you're trying to
no excuses, man. I mean,
I know. Like, I don't have any excuses for them. Absolutely not. Like, this should have been a 3-0, 4-0 win, or at the worst, like a 4-1 or a 3,
yeah. I mean, credit to them, for what they did in it and coming back and the coaching that they had for that.
Yeah.
On our side of things is like, well, how do we be better? Is it a player thing? Is it a coaching thing? We're not going to claim to have the answers from that, but based on what we're seeing, we can only make, the judgments from our standpoint and what we think we can see moving forward. The second half doesn't go our way, and it's a tough pill to swallow, but like I had tweeted out is, you take that firm punch to the face, and it's really going to tell you about this squad.
It's a firm punch in the face, Ryan, and we're still in second in the East. That's
what's
thing.
Crazy, but it feels more because it's your rival.
No, 1,000%, 1,000%.
Always gonna. And I saw something today that I thought was so true. Is like, no matter what happens on Wednesday, like, this still stinks. Like,
that's what like around the world, right? You ask the people that are like, oh, like, would you rather win X trophy, or would you rather win the derby or sweep the derby?
Yeah.
And people are like, it's kind of hand in hand. Like, it's kind of a trophy in itself.
Well, and yeah, no, that's a great point. So how do we move forward from it? Is the big question. And I like the response from the players, at least, to say, we know we're going to take ownership, but you got to show me. You can't just say and just make us like be like, oh, I'm back in. That's a tough one after what we had seen. Because again, the fight wasn't quite there. And if the fight was there and the result was the same, I might be saying a different tune, for this. But when you just don't have it up in that front level where you're hitting that next gear and attacking, and you're just passing the ball around the back the whole time. I mean, it's just
so
tough.
Ryan,
it's tough to watch
tactically going forward, right? You're Pat Noonan. What are we looking at going forward? Obviously, like you had said.
So yeah, for your high press system, it worked for 20 minutes, but teams are going to adjust. Good teams are going to find a way to get through that. So, okay, if that works in stretches of the game, well, how can we next find, that other tactical adjustment is kind of what you're saying, essentially. Yeah. So in the second half, for me, it's having that guy off the bench. And right now, it's the lack of depth that is killing this team. You have technically the roster depth on paper, maybe. But for me, it's like, well, how do we utilize these guys in the best way? Let's just say that. So my takeaway, number one, Sam, the tactical part of things, I'll touch, I guess, on the sub later on in a minute, but the left side of the field is an issue. I've said it for the last few games, but teams constantly find ways to attack down that side. Orishano is held up, and Engel is on an island, and it led to essentially 2 goals in this match, possibly even more. But that's an issue. How do we address that?
Well, so like you're saying, I mean, if you go back and even just watch the highlights, most of the game you're just seeing Orishano jog back on defense.
Yeah, that's an issue.
that would be, the big issue right there that you're looking at on the left side. And I mean, Engel, like you said, can only do so much, especially when he's playing left center back, right?
Right.
Obviously we've seen him at both positions, center back and left back, but Orishano is way up there. I think, honestly, Ryan, we're getting similar looks from Orishano that we did in the early Powell days on the right side, where he was like way too far up, and we just didn't have any behind him and able to help our center backs.
Yeah, it's just leaving them exposed. And, again, some of these goals are flukes that Columbus scores, but overall, it's an issue, and it could have been more based on the way that teams try to expose that. So for me, that's part of it. And then really, if you're going to say like we're going to be reliant on your big players, obviously Evander scores in this one, but for me, Denke wasn't around. They pretty much negated any sort of attack that this guy had in the game. I think he only had 3 touches in the opposing team's box for the entire match. That's an issue. So how do we link play through him more? For me, he looked like he was tired, but he had also had, 2 or 3 guys on him at all times. Is that an issue of him and Kamara needing to play better? I'm not sure. It just didn't seem like they had it in this match. We've seen it in other games where Kamara's taken pressure off of Denke. Can we get back to that? Is kind of what I would imagine.
I think we were just spread too wide there, right? Because I mean, you're talking about these guys helping each other up top, and like you had said, after 30 minutes, Columbus did a great job of building through the middle, and you could see how much more our offense or our entire formation was just so spread out that we weren't even able, like when we did have possession, to be able to have 1 or 2 players within one player trying to hold it up, right? So then that player should turn it over right away because he didn't have any help around him.
Yeah, or you have guys that are trying to go forward and there's no forwards that are checking over to that side that they could play into. So we kind of lack creativity in some ways as well. Again, we don't want to just harp on like all the things that need to be adjusted. But after this one, it's just tough. It's tough to watch. And with a quick turnover, Sam, that's, I think, the hardest thing for me is like, what changes right away? You're going to play another team that likes to be on the ball. So what's that quick switch? Is it, to press in certain moments more instead of like an all out press at the beginning of the game? I don't know. Did we score too early is the other question. For me, you got to score, man. And
yeah, that's ridiculous.
That's the part of the game. That's what soccer is to score. Did we score too early? Like, okay, I could see like how you have the rest of the game, but like you still have to play.
Yeah. You're up 2 goals, right?
You're up 2 goals, yeah. Right. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's kind of silly. And then Sam, I want to ask the question to you, what your thoughts were about having Mamadem come in before a, Corey Baird or a Sharilla who has been on, on the team longer.
Yeah. So I think he came in for Kamara there, in the second half. And yeah, I mean, I guess you're trying to ride the hot hand, a guy who is, putting on, a good quality season in MLS Next Pro. Believe he's got 3 goals and he just got signed, right? So he's got a lot of confidence and you want to feed that. Like, I get it. But to your point, there's people, honestly, Corey Baird needs some confidence as well, but he's also a guy that's got MLS experience and has played in, Hell is Real before. So I think maybe, like you said, that maybe that's a better shout just in that position. But who knows? Because we've seen good moments and bad moments, from Corey Baird just as much as we have, the other two guys you mentioned.
For sure. And I think that comes down to the experience thing. Like, you can't throw this guy into the fire and expect good results when you're searching for the game. Like, you don't even sustain possession or create opportunities, and you're expecting this guy to like take over the match essentially. Baird hasn't been anything special, obviously, and we've talked about that before. But a little bit more of an experience at the end of the game, I think, is what I would have relied upon.
Honestly, you're missing Santos a whole lot in that
If
portion,
you're not
in my
going to
opinion.
use those guys, though, for me, it's like these guys are dead weight on your roster. And so, moving forward, is this a way to say, sending a message like, look, like, we don't see you in our plans?
Well, if you use them,
the transfer window,
if you use them in their correct position. That's the thing that we've seen from those guys, that you're looking at the roster and going, man, these guys are dead weight. And then whenever we do play them, they're not in their, normal position.
Right. Yeah. So we had posed the question, to everyone out there on X as well, what's the biggest change that we need to see? And we got a lot of mixed, answers from this. We've touched on a few of them already. So one of them shouts out here that defense was the best in the league last year and has sucked this year. Also can't score after half, it seems. I think not quite entirely true. After half, we've done fairly decent, I feel like, in some moments. Defense was better last year. We had a lot of center backs out last year too, and it was kind of a mixed bag with that. And that there was definitely stretches where we weren't so great either. So I don't know. Another one here that says absolutely shameful, lack quality, lack leadership, lack coaching. Again, it's just a heat of the moment thing. Again, we're all feeling this, but tired of blowing leads, specifically 2-0 leads in every single big match this season. I'm glad to see that we won the Orlando game. That was a big match in my opinion.
Yeah.
We were playing with a lead and we were able to hold on, but we just have to look better and feel confident when we're up, I think. And is that a coaching thing? Is that a player mentality of being like a winner, mentality? I don't know. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, right, Ryan. So this comment here, the play patterns being too predictable or orchestrated. What are your thoughts on that comment from one of our followers?
So the play patterns, it ties into the other comment about, not going as much east to west. Well, when you don't really have your connecting midfielder in there, without Obi, how's the ball going to progress? And we've seen Anunga do a honestly decent job in prior matches. I felt like in stretches he was okay. But then you take him out in the second half and then you don't really have a connector. Dado's not really that guy. And you kind of forced him to be that guy and he didn't know what to do. And again, it's if you're going to play him in that role, get him some minutes in that position before. Maybe his hand is forced. Who else do you play in that spot? But the play pattern's got to change. It's too predictable. But I think for me, it's it comes down to the effort in the front line. Being a prior forward, for me, it's the forwards have to create movement, which creates space behind. And if you're not having that movement with those two guys up there, then the offense is going to just swing back and forth and you're not going to be able to work the ball through that area. So I would agree with that one. Again, I am sure these are all things that they're looking at. But the feeling the disjointedness of missing Obi and his energy in the midfield, it's clear as day, especially in this match. So again, bummed, but how are we going to move past this for the foreseeable future? He'll be out for months. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that third midfielder, right? Is he coming? I think that's the biggest question, is if and when, because we need it. We need that third midfielder in the rotation right now to be able to help
experience
Anunga and Buka. Dado's not the guy to play box to box or defensive. He will play up top, right? And that's fine. But we do need some help in the midfield real bad.
Yeah. And so, again, where does this come from? I think it has to be, you have to subtract to add,
Yeah.
is again what this comes down to ultimately. And then, from a striker standpoint, I'm starting to get more on the train of I do believe we need another striker as well. For a while there, I think that Kamara was doing a decent job, but his age is showing more and more this season. And at some point, like, he's got to start scoring for me to have it be worth it. There's periods of the game where he does well, but I think that's, again, it's periods of the game. We need a striker for a sustained amount of time if we want to do anything big.
Yeah, absolutely. To take that away from Denke, and right now your front two just aren't pressing as a unit, and that's where I think you're missing Santos a lot, especially during the slow parts of the game where you don't have as much possession and you're able to win it back just like that. But Ryan, you have enough off your chest there, so we can.
Yeah, again, thanks to those for listening through that rant session there. I'm sure everyone is feeling a lot of the same things. And again, thank you for everyone who had commented and told us their thoughts too,
Yeah,
and
appreciate
what
it.
changes. We're fans. This is what we're seeing. I'm sure the coaching staff has to be seeing a lot of the same as well. Otherwise, it's kind of like we're just hitting our head against the wall and doing the same thing. So I think you're going to see change is what I'm getting down to. And from this point forward, how do we manage those big time moments? And does this help us, for like a postseason run? Absolutely. And I think that's the big takeaway for me is you remember when you get punched in the face.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
How does this make you a better team? I think it's almost like the Tim Tebow moment. I hate to say it's like the Tim. Do you remember his speech that said, like, you'll never see anyone work as hard as I will? Yeah. And, hopefully it's that sort of message, moving forward, because the win now moment, it's here, it's now. And I think that's what's frustrating is to see like how fine of margins it's been. And we've been on the positive side of things, but how easily it could be flipped and how exposed we could be. And we saw that in this match. So that's the end rant there. Sam, I want to hear our trivia question for this week.
Yeah, so trivia of the week presented by Goals TV, going off of the positive from this match. Ryan, FC Cincinnati scored 2 goals in the first 5 minutes of the match for the first time in franchise history. When was the last time we saw them score 2 goals in the first 10 minutes of the match? And then obviously who scored those goals?
I'm going to go that we were playing NYCFC. I remember a home game back in maybe 2022. And I believe that Brenner and Vasquez scored them. I'm going to go that we scored pretty early on. And that one, the one I'm thinking of, it ended up being, I think, a 3-3 match actually. But that's what I'm going to lock in.
All right, Ryan's locking it in. We'll see what the answer is on the other side.
Hey everyone, just a quick message from Ryan and Sam here at the Flying Lion Podcast. We wanted to share some exciting news with you. The Flying Lion Podcast has officially partnered with Chatterbox Sports. We are very excited to be a part of the Chatterbox community as they have proven to give you the very best coverage of Cincinnati sports thus far.
For those who are new to the Flying Line Podcast, we cover FC Cincinnati news, game recaps, analysis, and unique segments such as our trivia question of the week, jersey swap of the week, card of the week. Give us a listen on our post-match shows on every away game on Chatterbox YouTube and our weekly episodes wherever you get your podcast. Thank you again for your support.
Welcome back, everyone. Thanks again for listening through the first part of the episode. Hard one to record here and to talk about, but I think, again, there's moments that you can look back on and say, man, for a solid 10 minutes of that match, it looked good, but it's got to be better, in those moments against your rival, and everyone knows that. So, but as we roll to this part of the episode, we're going to touch on our cards of the week here first. Sam, let's hear it. What do you got?
Yeah, my card of the week, we're going to keep it in-house. We're going to keep it in the MLS, Ryan, and this happened last week. NYCFC's giant inflatable pigeon. Ryan, it is 5 stories tall, 700-pound inflatable pigeon. It was kind of this guerrilla marketing stunt to drum up their new stadium coming up soon, and it took trips all around New York City, up and down the rivers, making numerous stops, and then the last stop I believe was to the site of their stadium that they're building. And I don't know if this is going to drum up a lot of fan excitement, because we've seen them have a soccer specific stadium for the Red Bulls, and they don't really seem to fill that one up a whole bunch. So we'll see if this guerrilla tactic ends up working here in the next couple of years.
But Sam, their stadium is right next to the baseball stadium, so it's going to draw up a lot of interest there.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I saw this, and at first you're just wondering why, why now, what's
it was so random,
It was on a random Tuesday or Wednesday or something like that. Yeah. And then you see it go all over the place, and I'm sure people are looking out of their office cubicles, just being like, I know we see a lot of pigeons around here, but I don't know if I've ever seen one that big.
Yeah, you're on a phone call. I gotta call you back. There's a giant pigeon in the Hudson.
Is this the Macy's Day Parade?
Yeah.
Shout out. Maybe they should use it for that.
Oh, hey, there you go. Honestly, repurpose it. Yeah.
It would have been better served probably for that. We should somebody needs to tell them. But Sam, I got to give you my card, being this week there was a rain delay before Hell is Real. The last time we played the team up north, there was a midweek match before the game on Saturday. There's always something this season that kind of ruins the moment in the Hell is Real. It ruined the build up a little bit in my eyes. You're ready for the match all day. You build up to it. You go to your local bars around OTR. You're with all your supporters, your friends, and you march there in torrential downpour. You're waiting on the concourse, and you got to wait an hour.
Yeah, I think so. I had some family members that went to the game, and they stayed in their cars before going out because they got the message prior to reaching the stadium. So I believe some of their other friends were like, "Oh, we're going to the stadium, no problem." And then halfway through, they're getting poured on. So smart decision by them. But yeah, once again, killing the vibes of Hell is Real. Ryan, I mean, obviously it didn't put the fire out too much because we scored real quick first 5 minutes, but kind of metaphoric, it put the fire out, for Hell is Real. And it was like, man, okay, all right, well, after the rain delay, let's have a match here.
Well, yeah, and ruin the TIFO kind of rigging thing like we talked about early on in the episode. Whack. So yeah, the rain, the weather delays, the midweek matches, all whack. We're going to blame it on the MLS. It's all the MLS's fault.
Always.
Flip side, Sam, what do you got for jersey swaps this week? What do you think?
All good. The jersey swap of the week this week is going to go to Buka for me. He had one of the quickest goals in FC Cincinnati history. It's a moment that will be remembered for a long time. Just the energy after that goal, like you said, it was just phenomenal. He created the most chances of any FC Cincinnati player in the match, was tied for the lead on the team in recoveries as well. I mean, he's just doing it all for FC Cincinnati, and my goodness, does this guy need some help? Get this man some midfield help.
Buka is a force, man. In this game, the effort was there, the goal was there.
Yeah.
The man can only do so much. He's got a guy next to him who's more ideally a number 10 at some point in the game. He had to do everything. And yeah, you're going to get exposed in those moments, and it's not all on him. But yeah, Buka's just been, again, Albright said it in his press conference before this match. He actually said that Buka's been the best player
MVP
on his team.
Yeah.
Not Evander. So that tells you, I mean, just the importance of Pavel Buka, and thank the Lord that we have this guy on the team.
Oh, it could have been so much worse.
What's his plus minus? I know that's not a stat in soccer, but
I used to look up plus minus a lot. So maybe next episode we'll have Buka's plus minus.
Don't you think it's got to be one of the best in the league?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we will. Okay. Next episode, we will have that stat for you. We will have that stat.
We'll find it.
Yeah, you can count on it. Ryan, jersey swap of the week for you, though.
Yeah, non-traditional, man. If anyone's listened to us before in the past, I've done this shout out before. The FCC supporters deserve my jersey swap this week. I want every single person in the Bailey to swap with, because you all brought it the entire match. The first part of the match, obviously, we're up, we're winning, but still in hard moments, you're still cheering, you're still trying to urge this team on to a victory. And in years past, like that's worked really, really well. Like we feed off of the energy, of the crowd, of the supporters, and, having everyone to come together and to wear orange, like we did a really nice job as well with that. I think we have a blue out coming out, on Wednesday against Miami. So everyone please wear blue for that. It'll look really cool as well. But yeah, for me, the supporters deserve it all in this one. The rivalries are for the supporters. Obviously the players are playing in it. The coaches, have to deal with certain things, but the fans are the ones that really make it special. And I think we killed it this year.
Yeah, I think what would really just cap off the homage to the supporters is making those Hell is Real jerseys available in the team store. That would be great. That would be kind of like, hey, you guys killed it. Sorry for losing, but here's the jerseys to remember the first 5 minutes.
The first 5 minutes, man. Those first 5 minutes were, that was a good time. Anyway, so FC Cincinnati 2-1, Sam, against Huntsville. Coming into this match, unbeaten in 6 straight matches.
Hottest team in MLS Next Pro.
Shout out to them. What did I say earlier on in the episode, Sam? I said Stefan Chirilla should be playing more minutes in big-time matches. Well, he scores in this one, 86th minute. He gives them the goal for the win. Back-to-back MLS Next Pro matches with a goal for Chirilla. Why are we not seeing more of him? I think he's not as physical, and Hell is Real is physical. That's probably the reason why. But play the hot hand. I would love to see this guy take that next leap. Now 7 matches, Sam, in a row unbeaten, a club record for FCC2. Pretty impressive to see these guys continue to rise up the standings. We were asking a lot at the beginning of the season. We're saying, all right, this team did real well last year. Let's see how they can do.
This guy's new. This guy's new. New signing here. Turnover. Yeah. New draft picks. But yeah, I think, Ryan, FCC2 now with 5 shutout performances on the year, 4 of those coming over the course of the last 6 matches. So you're looking at a squad that honestly, defensively, has just turned it on, and they are playing really well. Goalkeeping is great. Like I said, just the guys in the back putting in the work. And Stefan, like you said, great goal, game winner, 86th minute. I mean, that's good vibes, especially when you're at home. And I mean, now they've got a lot of time off, though.
Yeah, they play Inter Miami 2's team on July 27th. So a couple weeks from now, we will have 2 players from the Next Pro team that will be representing for Next Pro All-Star game. Ademir Chavez and Andre Chirilla are representing. Shout out to those guys, for making that one. And go watch this match. I think it'll be cool to see some representation, from our team. Touching on All-Star and All-Star voting, I believe that is probably ended by now. I believe.
Yeah, it's ended. Yeah.
So Evander was in the running, but Brandon Vasquez was in the running as well, and we want to shout out Brandon and hope his recovery goes well. He just tore his ACL last week. One of our players that I think is beloved by everyone. Looking around the league and the response to seeing this guy go down, like everyone's got his back. Just ultimately a really good guy. Would love to see him back in the orange and blue at some point. But yeah, hopefully his recovery goes well, and we wish him the best. But past that, Sam, what else we got?
Yeah, I mean, Ryan, now we're going into what could be 2 defining, matches for the rest of the season. And you're looking at what is to come in Inter Miami and Real Salt Lake. And I pose the question to you, do these 2 matches define what the season could look like depending on, their response after this Crew game?
Normally I would say no. A couple matches doesn't define.
14 weeks left. Yeah.
You got 14 weeks left. You just came off of a horrendous, game in your rival match. Yeah, I think this kind of defines where you go. Look at the Inter Miami match last year, Sam, and we won 6-1. And from that point on, like, we were a shell of ourselves. So I think, like, to say it defines us maybe isn't the exact right wording, but we'll learn a lot about this squad in the next 2 games. You get kind of a little bit of a break with Leagues Cup. So, yeah, I think I would love to see a lot out of these guys. I think the way that you handle the next week or so will show us kind of the cards, what's at play and how serious does this team want to be about winning trophies.
Yeah, absolutely. And that rolls us into the preview, right? Taking on Inter Miami this Wednesday, match day 24. Ryan, like you said, it's going to be a blowout. So we know the crowd's going to be there. It's going to be awesome. I believe the cheapest tickets, obviously like $135 or something like that, because Messi's in town. So if you want to go, should be a good time. But like you said, I mean, last year playing Inter Miami, it was a tale of two tapes, right? The first matchup, 6-1. Like, we're coming out of this one like, oh my gosh, what a game. Like, we're the best team in the MLS. And then the flip side, right? We play Miami at Miami, and it's kind of we didn't really show up, and we lost 2-0. So what kind of are you expecting coming into this match against Miami, especially a Miami team that is red hot?
Yeah, I think you have to just look internally. And for me, like, what the opponent's going to bring. It's going to be the hardest player you've played all season. And I think you just have to look at yourselves and say, like, we just had this happen to us. I'm not going to get embarrassed again. I don't want my brothers to get embarrassed again. How do I go and leave this all on the pitch? And especially at home, again, you got to do it at home. And I don't want two straight that way. I don't think the players want two straight that way. They shouldn't want it, at least. They shouldn't, right?
Yeah.
We definitely don't. But yeah, I think you have to come in this one and look internal and say, how can we get the best out of our players? It would be foolish not to think about, the number 10 on their team. But Sam, for you, obviously in the past we'd had Obi do a little bit more aggressive man marking on Messi. What kind of change do you see in this one? For me, Anunga was taken out last match kind of early to keep him healthy for what is going to be a huge matchup of him v Messi, honestly, in the midfield, floating kind of right behind those strikers that he typically likes to do, maybe a little bit out wide as well.
Yeah, honestly, from FC Cincinnati, I think you see a lot more counterattacking on this one in this match. I know the last time we played Inter Miami at home, we kind of were on the forefront and just kept attacking them and their slow center backs at the time. But right now, I just, the way this team's playing, I think we need to sit down deep a little bit more and, help our midfielders just kind of save energy, to be honest. And I'm not saying go for a draw or anything, but honestly, that's what you're saying, right? Is we took Anunga out real early so that way he could have some energy for this game. But I mean, is he going to go all 90? Like, what are we going to expect from this team?
You're going to need a complete performance. Miami's on a heater right now, coming off of the Club World Cup. They had a decent showing. Messi is obviously Messi. 10 goals now in 5 matches, 5 straight games with, brace, I think as well. So, I think you have to send the message. Last time we played them, like, some of the guys acted like I shouldn't say the last time, but I think it was Open Cup where we really just were like disregarding the fact that it was Messi and just went in tough, made it known that we were here to play. Mm-hmm. I think you have to do that. You have to frustrate him. Now, when he gets frustrated, he plays even better. So that's what is very tough about this. But you have to set the tone early or else. Their defense historically this season has not been good. They're going to let in goals, Sam.
It's a shootout.
I almost wonder, again, if you come out strong. You had this game that you did against Columbus and you're pissed off, frankly. So you come into this one hot. I would hate a scenario where we go up like that early, but at the same token, like, you got to get a lead. I think at home especially. And maybe what you've learned now is how can you play with the lead, and maybe you are smarter about having as much space in the midfield like you're describing, with Anunga, or maybe you change a little bit more of your strategy in the back line, not send Orishano up as far, things like that maybe they're considering. But it'll be a tough one prediction wise. Sam, what do you got?
I don't have much belief. I think it's going to be 2-0 Inter Miami.
I'm holding out hope for a draw. I think a 1-1 draw is honestly a pretty decent result in this one, and it keeps us in a competitive point.
It slows a Miami team down that is, has games.
Yeah, well, and we play them 2 weeks, after as well at the end of the month too.
Yeah.
So what you see in this match is maybe a little bit of a feeling out process, and how does that set us up for, later on in the month potentially? What does our lineup look like as well, midweek versus now, having a game on Saturday where you actually go and play in Salt Lake too. So how does he manage that? Does he put more emphasis on this one at home or on the away match?
No, I think you put this one more emphasis on the home match, considering Eastern Conference too. I think ultimately that's going to be the thing, because everybody in the Eastern Conference is kind of just at each other's throats, right? It's 4 or 5 teams right there that could easily just skyrocket. Just take it. But I think you see the stronger lineup for this Wednesday, and then obviously we'll touch on Real Salt Lake. But yeah, the lineup, Ryan, I think we know up top. I mean, do you go with Kamara still up top, right? That's still the question. And then what does the back line look like? Does the back line still include Engel being there? Does Orishano, do you move him from left wing back and, move him somewhere else? Or what do you do with that?
Yeah, probably, honestly, it's going to be a lot of the same, I think, in this one. You do get Nick Hagglund back, Sam. He is available. He's probably not going to start, but he's coming off the bench. So even more center back depth for this one. Do you see a world where, maybe a Hidebe actually starts over Engel, or they push, maybe Engel in a more natural position to left wing back? I don't know.
Do you see this? This could be interesting. Do you see a world where we put in, we let's say Hagglund subs in, right? Can him or some, Miles Robinson, somebody else with some speed, man mark Messi as our, center defensive midfielder, right? Sit in front of the line of center backs and play as that guy. That enforcer, if you will, to help out our midfield.
Thought, but probably not.
Just a thought.
Yeah, no, it's not a bad thought. I think people have played Messi that way before.
Yeah.
I like Miles's close down speed, but he gets turned a lot. Like, look at the Chicago Fire game and how he got turned. So Messi's so quick on the ball. The best way to defend him is in numbers. Have multiple guys around him, but then how is that going to leave other people open? So
he finds them, yeah.
The communication has to be the best it's been all season. And coming off a game where you just gave up 4 goals to the Crew, like, it's got to clean up, and it's got to clean up now, yesterday, even too. So yeah, for me, I don't dislike the idea. I just don't think it's realistic because they haven't done it all season. There'd be a lot of confusion about who goes where and what, and there's already issues with the back line.
Just somebody put a body on this guy. Jeez.
Yeah. I just think you got to defend in numbers against him. I don't want Engel to be, if he's there in that left center back, I don't want him to be one-on-one with Messi. You have to have multiple guys around him to force him to pass the ball away. That's the best way to play defense against him, is just to force him to play it to somebody else. Yeah. So it'll be an interesting one here. I think I'm in agreement with you. I think we go with a strong lineup, in this one, obviously, being at home. The Real Salt Lake game is an interesting one on Saturday because, you got to be riding so much emotion coming off of the Crew, off of Inter Miami. And now you're going to go play at altitude. You're going to probably play with rotation. Unknown
opponent.
Yeah, man. I mean, 1-1 series against them all time. Last time we played them was 2022, actually. First road trip to Real Salt Lake, I believe, correct?
Maybe second
one. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I think we had played there before.
Yeah.
They sit at 11th currently. They have not had a fantastic season, but you just got to salvage something up there. The more and more I'm thinking about how the lineup is looking on Wednesday and then what that looks like for Saturday, I become a little bit more worried. And I think this is one where you probably see Dowdo start. I think this is one where you probably see Flores come in and maybe give some backline minutes there too. Somebody's got to step up and play some midfield minutes probably at some point too. Is that, Dotto in that position then, depending on how we come out of Wednesday? We just don't have the depth in that spot right now, and that is the biggest need, like you mentioned earlier on in the episode.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting.
I don't envy Pat for this.
I know. Once again, midweek games, it's crazy, but Real Salt Lake sitting at 11th currently. Before they play us, they play Timbers, who the Timbers are kind of wishy-washy as well. So we'll see how that match goes, how Real Salt Lake is coming out of that one. But I mean, FC Cincinnati still undefeated against Western Conference teams this season. So at least we've got that going for us. We're good against the West. So yeah, Ryan, this lineup, honestly, would love to see a Stefan Schirilla maybe appearance up top to reinvigorate. I think that'd be
Mamba Dem gets the start though, based on who they just played and how it's real.
I could see him playing right back.
Yeah, I think they mentioned in the press release that he could play on one side. That's not a bad shout. You're going to see some rotation clearly. It's just about, can we find a way to win on the road? Like we've done it before. For me, a 1-0 victory is what I'm predicting in this one, just because of those reasons.
I've got a 3-0. I think we lose against Miami, but then we get even more pissed off and we beat the crap out of Real Salt Lake and continue to beat the crap out of the Western Conference.
I hope, man. I really hope, because like we mentioned earlier, we're still second in the East. You look at this and, about all this, what needs to change and this and that, like you're still high up in this spot. It feels worse. We have a +4 goal differential and you're in second place. That's just such fine margins to play with. But you're finding ways to win. So I think we're both calling a win against Real Salt Lake. If we could get 4 points out of this, is that a win for you in the week?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially going into the All-Star break. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think the Shield was on the table. I think the crew match really kind of dents a little bit of that hope, but one match doesn't necessarily define a season, but it can define how a team responds in, like you said, a defining kind of stretch in period here. I look back to last season as a huge example of that. With where the transfer market hits, Sam, we're talking about, July 24th, this window opens technically. I believe our new player, Ender, is going to be starting to train even next week as well. Do you think that's enough time for us to kind of integrate these pieces and see a little bit of a different look from FC Cincinnati that we've seen in the first half?
I mean, you always hope, right? You always hope that these, summer window helps MLS teams. Some do, some don't. When we brought in a guy like Bupenza, right? He made an instant impact and, led us to a Supporters Shield victory. So, I mean, is Ender going to be that guy? I don't know. I don't think he'll be the guy, but could he be an integral piece that we need in order to spark some other guys? Absolutely. I just think we're missing one more signing. We just need one more guy, right? And hopefully it's the piece that you and I, have talked about in the past in that midfielder striker position, either one, preferably midfield. That'd be great. But yeah, I think
yeah, go ahead.
No, I was done.
I think 2 pieces is realistic, honestly. I feel a center midfield with experience that can bring, something off the bench late on the game to see things out. Like Anungo was planned to be, and then Obi got hurt. I could see that, like we talked about last episode. And then, like we also talked about with the striker, is just more production from that. You obviously are top heavy with Denke, but Kamara hasn't scored. Santos has a few, but Kubo, maybe 1 goal. Is he available? Is, he going to be coming back? There's a lot of questions from that. And in a team where you haven't really seen as much movement out middle of the season, in understanding that we've spent all this money, we have honestly a really good position to be in right now. I think they send it. I really do think that they go and find, 2, maybe 3 pieces, drop some people that, aren't helping us as much. And I think they really try to say, hey, this is the year. Because you don't know what's happening with Evander at the end. You don't know with Denke. For me, that's hopeful, but I think that they really try to put the best foot forward, Sam.
Yeah, I completely agree. But Ryan, to cap off this episode, we'll go into the trivia question and answer. To recap what that was, Ryan, FC Cincinnati scored 2 goals in the first 5 minutes of the match for the first time in franchise history. When was the last time we saw them score 2 goals in the first 10 minutes of the match? And who scored those goals? I believe you said, what was it, Vazquez and Brenner?
Yep, and against NYCFC, I believe.
Okay, so the answer was Acosta and Brenner. Acosta scored the 4th minute. Brenner scored the 8th minute. It was in 2022 against DC United.
Ooh, at the end of the season, the last game of the season.
Yeah.
All right, I had the year right, didn't have the right team, and I got 1 for 2 with the players. That's I'm feeling pretty good about that.
Yeah, not bad, but a really cool stat. Obviously, once again, I mean, history, right? That's the quickest we've ever scored 2 goals in a match. So
did we
very
see
impressive.
That one out?
What?
Did we see that one out at least? I think it was 5-1 that we won.
Yeah, we definitely saw that one out for sure. Yeah.
Let's learn from that moment. Go back to doing that. That worked well.
Yeah. So obviously pretty somber week, but Ryan, huge week coming up.
Yeah, massive week, a lot of opportunities here. Burn the tape, from last Saturday and move forward, put your best foot forward here, and let's get at least, I would say, like we talked about, a win and a draw. I think that's a good week for us going into All-Star break. But thanks again for joining, everyone. Sorry again for all the rants, but I'm sure you all were feeling the same way too. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen. Check us out on YouTube as well. We've been rolling out some videos there, and our Reels, Goals TV as well. We just rolled out, again, another episode for our 10-part series for the 10-year anniversary of FC Cincinnati. But thanks again for joining us tonight.